I'm joined now live by Ralph Wilde, who is a professor of international law at University College London, and he's joining us live from Belém in Brazil. Thank you so much for joining us, Ralph. Starvation of a civilian population is, of course, a crime under international law. If you could break down for our audience the various aspects in which it is a crime. Of course, this is a crime under international humanitarian law, under the Genocide Convention, and other various crimes against humanity. Could you explain that for our audience?
Thank you. So I'm speaking today in a personal capacity only. So we have to remember that as the International Court of Justice held last year, Israel's presence in Gaza and the West Bank is in and of itself illegal. It's a violation of the legal right of self-determination of the Palestinian people and the legal ban on annexation through the use of force. Also, as you've indicated, Israel is violating international law in the way it's treating the Palestinian people, apartheid, serious violations of the laws of war, including starvation as a weapon of war, crimes against humanity, and genocide. Because the rules violated have a special fundamental character, all states are themselves subject to a special legal duty that they wouldn't ordinarily have to end these violations. For the violations that have created this famine, these other states have what's called a responsibility to protect the Palestinian people. This means taking all action within their power, including completely ending trade relations with Israel. Also, those supporting Israel, including through weapons sales, military aid, and intelligence sharing, are inevitably supporting these violations and are therefore themselves acting illegally and must stop all aid and cooperation in order to bring that illegality to an end.
Ralph, we often hear this phrase that Gaza has been failed by the international community. If we could look at that from the lens of international human rights law, would you also say that other countries are not upholding the obligations that they have to the people of Gaza?
Yes, so they're not doing those things that I've just outlined. And I would also add that the illegal nature of Israel's presence in Gaza and the West Bank, let's not forget the West Bank, creates a special opportunity for all these other states to act that would be legally more difficult if these violations were to be taking place and perpetrated by a state against its own people in its own territory. We have to remember Gaza and the West Bank are not Israeli sovereign territory. Because Israel's presence there is itself illegal, Israel has no legal right whatsoever to decide who can enter and be present. This means that states, international organizations, and NGOs don't legally need the permission of Israel to go there. So one way that they could discharge their responsibility to protect would be to seek the permission of the representatives of the Palestinian people to send a protective military and civilian presence into Gaza and the West Bank, including to enable aid provision. Now, how would this be lawful? So-called humanitarian intervention, which is usually a term meaning military intervention in the territory of a state against the wishes of the government of that state. Now, for that, some Western states have argued that they have a right to do it in situations of extreme humanitarian catastrophe. Gaza clearly meets that test.
Ralph,
however, most other states, they say that that is unlawful unless authorized by the UN Security Council or in extreme situations, potentially the General Assembly. But we don't need to get into these requirements here because Israel is not sovereign in Gaza and the West Bank, and its wishes are of no legal significance. So if the representatives of the Palestinian people gave their consent, an intervention could happen lawfully without the need for any authorization by either the Security Council or the General Assembly.
Ralph, thank you so much for your time. That's Ralph Wilde, a professor of international law at University College London.